Do you want to play the original Rome Total War, but it's in remastered form and a bit extended? You're afraid of big overhaul modes that are too challenging and too time investing to understand fully. You just want to play vanilla-like experience, not far from the original one. You came to the right place. What we're gonna use is Imperator's Mundi campaign map overhaul, original unit textures upscaled, original unit cards upscaled, original loading screens, skip intro kinematic and logos, and we are returning original background now in 60 FPS. I originally used the classic ROM menu loop, but it's no more available on Steam Workshop, so I'm using this one. This one, the previous one is a little bit better in my view, but this one will do. So let's see how the map looks like. As you can see, the original loading screens, the original background menu is there. So this is the map. Let's take a look. It is quite big, not as big as RIS, Rome Imperium Surrectum map, but still quite big. As we can see, there are a lot of cities here. But it is generally the original experience of Rome Total War. You can even disable merchants if you want to. But of course it's not necessary, and it's a bit better with merchants. So it's like the original one. You have Julii, have Senate, have TI, and CptEngage. You can go against Carthage, Greece, Macedon, Gauls, because we hate Gauls. Well, all the original ones are here and intact. But Seleucids are not as fucked as usual. They have a bit more towns and territory, which is good. Got Persians, Parthia, Armenia as well. I think Parthia is a little bit wider here as well. India is just rebels. And that's about it. Sadly, I lost my full playthrough save file, and because I'm that autistic, I conquered the whole map almost without any cheats. Why almost? Because there are some settlements that you cannot get to without teleporting your characters. So this is my earliest not lost save. Basically what I did in my playthrough, I first fought Carthage, and as you can see on this map, the AI gets a little bit more stacks, so they are not as easy to defeat, but yeah. It's kind of a siege fest at the end, especially when I was fighting the Seleucids, like these territories. The AI a bit chunky. They don't react as quickly to invasions and shit. I even conquered the whole of India and those hidden towns as well. There, yeah. In Africa as well, which is pretty cool, just because you can. So basically it's the original Rome Total War, but extended and improved, but no new features. So now let's talk a little bit more about this mod and your experience and your experiences in it. First thing first, you're gonna fight a lot of doom stacks. Like I tell you, a lot of doom stacks. Like this. This is normal. Like Greeks. Okay. Like a lot. Asia, a lot of them. And there will be a lot of fighting. So, a lot. What's next? So it is literally first time in 20 years of playing Rome Total War. I used spies and assassins, and it's neat to make cities to rebel, a Cold War, so to speak. So when I finished with Egyptians and with Armenia and whatnot, I started a Cold War against Seleucids, like rebelling their cities and using spies to infiltrate their cities and destroying buildings to cause unrest. Really fun, never did that before, because there is no actual need in the original Rome Total War map, like it's too small. And it is really feels similar to Empire Total War in some places. A nightmare to manage in later stages of the campaign, but still have fun. Logistics and stuff. It was the actual first time in years playing Rome Total War. Even after Marian reforms, I needed to rely on mercenaries and early legionaries and plain old legionaries, because the empire was already big and I was in lots of wars, so didn't really have time to produce urbans and praetorians en masse. And I was also relying on and I was also relying on ordinary Roman cavalry a lot. I have found elephants to be really good as well, especially against barbarians late game. And I don't know what I would have been doing without mercenary hoplites, Christian archers, and even without slingers. Because you will be holding a lot of bridges against hordes. I mean, against doomstacks, so prepare. Also, transporting those elite troops to the front lines was a tough job. So on this map was the first time I encountered logistics troubles. Especially when conquering India from southeast, I heavily relied on auxilia, mercenary eastern infantry and archers. I even used pyjama men, aka eastern mercenaries, mostly to defend city center and as garrisons. But still, I used them, and it was the first time, literally. This map is quite very big, even maybe too big in some places. For example, the bottom of the map with the all African lands is pretty unremarkable, except for a chance to recruit Step elephants, yeah, the cheat elephants, at the very bottom of the map. But it's a very rare occasion that they respawn. But if you can manage to transport them to Europe, they're quite useful against barbarians, as I said. I mean, in the southeast of Africa, in this campaign overhaul, only Egypt goes there, and in the southwest Carthage goes there, And if you take those lands from them, you're pretty much guaranteed to hold them easily with no invasions. The AI doesn't really know what to do with those territories. But that neatly brings me to AI behavior on this map. AI works pretty good in the Mediterranean zone, as it was the focus of the OG map and the game, but it's pretty much lost in the east. But the new AI is pretty much lost in the east, where the Silicids were going and going and going towards India, gradually conquering lands. Parthia did the same, but north of the Himalayas. AI tends to create doom stacks on this mod as well, as we were speaking before. As we were talking before, I'm talking like 5, 10, and even like 15 stacks in one place, which is by design, as the lead developer said. And I enjoyed that. Had some really great and massive battles against AI, even applying auxilia, so to speak, method. When I engaged with the main army, consisting from my best troops, and with that army I brought to the battlefield 2 or 3 additional armies controlled by AI on my side, but without generals, so they don't suicide themselves. But without generals, so they don't get slaughtered in the first few seconds by fucking rage charge to the enemy. In the late game, that Auxilia army looked like a full stack of early legendary cohort, because they're cheap and I don't care about them. Sometimes some horses and mercenaries as well, cheap units to throw on the enemy basically. I used those armies without the generals because they tend to kill themselves. I have never ever done that Auxilia stuff before in the original Rome Total War, so that logistics part and fighting gargantuous armies, that part I really liked. Although it was a chore, felt like a chore sometimes, as going east. I first went to South India with a fleet of 2 or 3 armies and started the conquest north, which was a fun challenge. Just a lot of rebel cities, just mostly relying locally on cheap units and mercenaries, which was a good challenge, but going east from Babylonia was a tough job. There were so many cities and armies, and fighting cohorts, silver shield legionaries, chariots and elephants was a tough challenge as well. But it's the scope of that invasion I really liked. Like so many cities and battles to fight. Yes, AI was quite slow to respond. Almost all Silicid army was just chilling in India until they weren't, and they marched towards me and we had a great battle. But the fact that they actually conquered towards India was quite fun. Fighting Silicids is also quite challenging and interesting, because you need to rely on archers and onagers to turn their elephants and chariots against them, usually to great losses on their side. Also, at the end of the campaign, before Silicids declared war, I started employing spies and assassins to cause unrest in Silicid towns. Same I did with Remains of Spain. Funny that at the end I had so much money. Britain I haven't even fought because, damn, those chariots. I just bought most of their generals and towns and crushed the rest. What a relief. That's a good thing. I built the economy to generate hundreds of thousands coins per turn. And I have never used spies, assassins and bribes in my campaigns before. Not on that massive scale, anyway. So it was an interesting experience not to just destroy your enemy on the battlefield, what I always preferred before, but actually destabilizing my enemy on their territory, which was real cool. So I really like this mode map. So download the workshop items in the description below and just try it yourself. It's basically plays like vanilla, but extended